Hello there and welcome to day 44. This is Friday, 8th of May. So what to talk about today? Well, I thought today we might talk about scale. Just how do you get the right scale in your music, in your hi-fi system? I've been to lots of shows over the years, and sometimes you'll go in and there'll be some speakers there, and there'll be big speakers, and you'll put on a piece of music that you know really well, like maybe something simple like a female vocalist in a three-piece jazz trio. And you know that bass, stand-up bass sounds what the size should be. It should be about the same height as the guy that's playing it, and the sound should come from down around his belly level, and you should hear his bowing, and it should be distinct from the body sound of the instrument. But it shouldn't be like 8 foot wide. If someone's playing a violin, it shouldn't sound like it's a massive instrument. It should sound small and compact like a violin sounds. Sure, you should be able to hear that bowing, and you should be able to hear the character of the instrument, but I'm talking about the scale of the instrument, the actual size. Maybe the best way to explain it is when you listen to a drum kit, and you know that a 24-inch bass drum should have a big sound to it. Now, when you play it through very small speakers, often that drum kit sounds like what I would call the Muppet drum kit. It sounds like Animal is going to town on his little 3-inch drum, and it's not a 24-inch drum. And so that's what I'm talking about with scale. Now, there's 2 ways to get scale in your system. Try to find the right placement of speakers in your room that allows you to give that full depth to the sound. Add in a subwoofer if you want to get more scale and space in the bass. And try to scale your speakers to suit the type of music that you listen to. If you're listening to big organ works, you're not going to be able to get authentic, realistic scale from a small pair of bookshelf speakers trying to reproduce that bottom pipe of the organ. You're going to need something bigger to do that, and you're going to need a room that will support that illusion of that big scale. But if you listen to small instruments, say you listen to chamber orchestras, trios, that type of smaller ensemble, then sure, those smaller speakers could be quite convincing at portraying the scale of that. Another thing allied to scale is volume. If you turn up any piece of music to a volume where it is at the level which you would expect that music to be played at when you listen to it live, then it's going to sound better than if you're trying to listen to that lead guitarist belting it out at some really background low volume level. It's just not going to have that bite, that convincing scale that it has in real life. So for every piece of music, there will be the ideal volume level, and there will be a scale to that music that will sound realistic. And I maintain that you can't have the one without the other if you want total realism. So that's why I go for the big panel speakers, so that when you're listening to a vocalist and she's, say, 5'8" tall, her voice is coming from 5'8" off the floor, where you would expect it to be. I can't really explain this any other way than to say that when you listen to small speakers down low, everybody sounds like midgets. They all sound like they're down there and not full height people. So have a think about when you're listening to your system, does this sound like a real person standing there in front of me that I could go out and I could put my arms around them and they would sound like a real person? Is that how real it is? Or does it more sound like the people are lined up against the wall ready to be shot? Because a lot of systems just don't have any depth to them. And does it sound like they're all midgets, or are they full size? Start listening through your system. So, does the sound realistic? Does it sound lifelike? Is it true to real life? That's what we're trying to get at. And I would say that if you can get your system to sound true to real live instruments, and a real person sounds like they're in front of you and you can reach out and you could put your arms around them, then you are really getting that realism that will just draw you into the music and make the music so much more accessible. So if you'd like some hints on how to get that sort of sound in your system, by all means pop a question in the comments box down below. Let me know what your system is and I'll give you some hints and tips on how you can get more scale to your system. It's quite a lovely thing when you experience the full size of what was recorded. In the background at the moment I've got a bit of Joni Mitchell playing, so I'm just going to go and turn Joni up a bit so that she sounds full size, and try and explain it to you from this recording.
Trina wears her long beads, she fills her car in with light, sewing lace on the doors and filigree on leaf and vine, vine and leaf of filigree, and her coats are second-hand one, true with antique luxury. She is a lady of the canyon. And she sits you down to read. She always makes you welcome in. Cats and babies run to feed, and all are fat and none are thin. None are thin and all are fat. She may bake some brownies today. Say you are welcome back. She is another canyon lady. Do 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 do. La la.
Now Joni there sounds like she's sitting on a stool and she's about that high and her guitar is on her knee. That's what it sounds like to me with these speakers. She's about there. So she's not standing, she's actually sounds like she's on a stool sitting. I don't know if that's the case because the liner notes don't say and there's no pictures of the recording session, but that's what I would guess. When I listen to some other vocalists and they are standing, they sound slightly taller than that. So that's what I'm talking about. If you want to get more focus to your sound, then toe your speakers in a bit more so that they're pointing more towards you, and bring them in slightly closer together. That'll give you more focus in the center. If you want a wider sound stage, more imaging out from the speakers, in other words, if you're playing more larger groups, then toe your speakers out slightly more. If you're wanting a more intimate sound with simpler music like this, toe them in a little bit more. If you want more depth, bring your speakers out from the back wall. That'll give you more front to back depth. So those are some little tips and hints that you can get. This recording, by the way, from way back in 1969, Joni Mitchell.